Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. A call to order the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting this November 12th. I'd like Mr. Krupp to take the roll.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. We are joined this morning with County Counsel Stephen Madkour and our Clerk of the Board, Mary Rathke. I'll start the roll. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Chair Ludlow.
Here. Please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as we have always tried to do, at least in my tenure of almost 3 years, is to make sure that citizens have an opportunity to go first. So we call forward Mr. Steve Bates, Mr. Les Poole.
Nice and plush.
Either one of you.
You know, Mr. Bates is running for office, so he's being real considerate of me.
I think he is anyway. Normally.
He would anyway. He's a good man. And we don't have enough time to talk about Metro and Boring and what's going on out there, but maybe he'll have some input for us. Les Poole, I'm obviously from Clackamas County, here almost every week with some pretty similar messages. And my message today is about roads. A couple of weeks ago, I asked how we were doing, and we've got a tremendous shortfall in maintenance. And obviously, the county, in the recent budget, has invested more money towards the backlog. But it seems as though we're 8 or 10 million or whatever it is, but a large sum of money short of what our needs are. So we're still bleeding. Chair Ludlow mentioned we've spent a couple of years with outreach and education on the issue. We need to do something, whatever it is, maybe a small ask on the May ballot. I don't think that we're at a point where you could put on the ballot the whole amount, and I'm not recommending that, but we need to stay on the topic. A very positive message about roads. The Sunrise Corridor project's not complete, but it is coming along, and when it's finished, it's going to alleviate that mess at 212. It's going to help keep those big distribution companies like Safeway and Fred Meyer's in Clackamas. And an awkward thing to come in and retrofit a highway through an industrial area and connect it to a freeway and a state highway. So I think that ODOT and certainly the county together have done a great job on that. And the actual benefits for congestion relief, reduction of greenhouse gases, creation of jobs, the financial impacts of that are tremendous. So kudos for making that Sunrise Corridor happen. As Damascus grows, it's going to be even more critical. So two different messages about roads. The other thing I want to mention is that I understand that the county will be at the Association of Oregon Counties meeting next week. I'm sure you've got a lot on your agenda, and I encourage you to talk with commissioners from across the state, as I have, about regionalism and how the policies and the incubator that Metro is for Portland is for lack of a better description, it's the blueprint for what's being imposed statewide. And it doesn't fit everywhere. It just doesn't fit. So I appreciate your time as always, and I'll give the rest of mine to Mr. Bates.
You ran out of time.
Not much left.
Chair Ludlow and Commissioners, I'm Steve Bates from Boring. Today I'm here representing the Boring Community Planning Organization. Chair Fitz was unable to make it. You have before you a copy of the written testimony from the Boring CPO, which is prepared for the hearing in front of Metro next Thursday, November 19th at 2 p.m. at the Metro headquarters. I'm here to make you aware of the concerns of the people of Boring. We essentially are taking the position that all of the area within the boundaries of the Boring CPO should be changed to undesignated. That includes all areas that are currently in the urban reserves as well as the rural reserves. We're taking this position to protect hundreds of acres of foundation farmland. The Clackamas County Farm Bureau will also be submitting written testimony supporting the boring position. We're also looking at the agreement that was signed by the Clackamas County Commission in 2010 that actually in Exhibit B within that agreement says that boring will become a part of the city of Damascus or the city of Gresham. The people of Boring resist those ideas. As a result, we're asking that this be stricken from any further agreements when it involves the urban and rural reserves. We're also holding out for the hope that a new designation will be developed through legislation with the state legislature, and that new designation would be rural center. A rural center would be outside of the urban growth boundary, allow for agriculture, industrial, commercial, and residential zoning to coexist. That is what we're standing for, and that's what we're hoping for, and we're asking for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I'm very interested in a new designation. It's probably a good idea for a lot of areas in the county, especially our county, who don't fit the classic definitions of even our zoning. And I find that to be very interesting. You're calling them rural centers. Now, going back to the agreement that the BCC, or whatever it was, in 2010, you said?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the intergovernmental agreement between the three counties and Metro for the urban and rural reserves, which has been remanded.
Which has been remanded. I find that interesting. I would like council to weigh in on that, or somebody at some other time. Doesn't have to be now. Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we have a twofer now. It's Norm Endrine and Tammy Stevens together. It's a Norm and Tammy show. Yeah, that's right.
So I'll just put 6 minutes on.
Good to go?
Good to go.
Good. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Tammy Stevens, and I reside in Beaver Creek. Norman Dreen and I are here this morning representing the board of the Hamlet of Beaver Creek. We are preparing to testify at the City of Oregon City's Planning Commission and City Commission regarding the Beaver Creek Road concept plan, and our board felt it was wise to speak with you first, requesting advice, guidance, and support. The Beaver Creek Road concept plan has a very long and detailed history that we don't have the time to describe today. However, it is one of many development projects earmarked along Beaver Creek Road and Highway 213 by Oregon City. To name the others, this is the Beaver Creek Road concept plan, this is Beaver Creek Road, and this is Highway 213. The Beaver Creek Road concept plan development is in this area. The Evergreen Myers Beaver Creek Road 9-acre development is here. The new Oregon City School District bus barn is here. The Clackamas Community College $111 million improvement/development area is here. The old bus barn development by Dan Fowler is here. And the Lynn, Leland, and Myers Road corridor development is here, and the economic enterprise zone is here. And there, and there, and there. As you can see, this is a lot of development along Beaver Creek Road and Highway 213. First and importantly, we are not against development. However, we are 100% for planned development that includes the safety and livability regarding transportation and public services. Mayor Dan Holliday, at the October 27th Caulfield Neighborhood Association meeting, shared his vision of Beaver Creek Road as Oregon City's economic future, with a 5-lane highway from Highway 213 to Henry C. Road. It is no secret that both Highway 213 and Beaver Creek Road, not to mention their intersection, is failing. Clackamas County has jurisdiction of Beaver Creek Road, but as you have all stated frequently, the county's focus is on road maintenance throughout Clackamas County and not on the development of Beaver Creek Road for Oregon City and the college's development plans. Unfortunately, that leaves your 6,500 Beaver Creek rural residents, including citizens in Colton, Molalla, Caris, Malino, Clarks, and the Highlands, etc., facing the exact fate that the Happy Valley residences many, many years ago faced. As we all know, Happy Valley and the Clackamas City area grew, and Sunnyside Road, under Clackamas County's jurisdiction, became a parking lot. As a result, the federal government, ODOT, Metro, and Clackamas County's development agency has spent over $150 million to fix poorly planned growth with the development of Sunnyside, the extensive creation of Sunnybrook, overpasses, the fish habitat, etc. Unfortunately, ODOT and Clackamas County don't have those types of funds anymore to fix Beaver Creek Road and Highway 213 due to poorly planned development. Before we move on to services, it is vital to note that the development of Highway 213 from the Molalla Avenue to I-205's environmental impact study resulted in Ordinance 92-1002, signed by Mayor Dan Fowler in 1992, agreeing that no development will occur if any roads in the vicinity of the Highway 213 and Beaver Creek Road intersection, including the intersection itself, are operating at lower than a D level. And if that happened, Oregon City would participate in a grade separation upgrade of the intersection. The current estimate to upgrade the intersection to a grade separation is $45 million and includes Dan Fowler's recently purchased old bus barn property. In addition, the state's transportation rule number 12 puts a moratorium of development with a failed intersection. To consider this amount of development without the plans or funds to fix roads and intersection is seriously irresponsible. With regard to water, Clackamas River Water has been contacted regarding the servicing of the Beaver Creek area, as Oregon City does not have the pressure to provide service. Normally, providing water through an intergovernmental agreement would not be a problem. However, after this year's drought and its devastating impact on the habitat of the Clackamas River, your rural residences in Beaver Creek are extremely concerned that water is available to existing clients and that the Clackamas River habitat is valued and protected by the Board of County Commissioners. As stated in Clackamas River Water's July 23rd, 2015 letter to each of you, it is our belief that as water providers on the Clackamas River, we must begin to view the river less as an exclusive source of revenue and more as a valuable, finite resource that must be protected. To ignore the current river conditions and push off stream flow and temperature concerns would be irresponsible. While we do not discredit our collective utilities' need to be financially stable, we believe that the long-term sustainability of the Clackamas River as a source of drinking water should trump the immediate needs of greener lawns and greater revenue.
Go ahead. For CRW to extend an IGA to Oregon City for all of the development plan in the next decade would most likely put the entire CRW southern section area into an annual drought conservation practice, not conducive for successful timber, livestock, agricultural mecca of Clackamas County, and extremely devastating to any surviving habitat of Clackamas County. And finally, the sewer, which I think is the most important. The last we heard, to pursue the 9 acres that we showed you on on the evergreen development at Myers and Beaver Creek Road, the sewer line lids would have to be bolted down so that they didn't overflow the sewer. In addition, residents along this sewer line have testified of frequent sewer backfills into their basements. The city admitted that the sewer capacity for the development was problematic and that there was a sewer bottleneck at Highway 213 and at the college. But there are no funds to solve this problem. If you hear this from a 9-acre development along Beaver Creek Road, how can hundreds of acres along Beaver Creek Road and Highway 213 be serviced without extensive sewer planning and funding? We're testifying in front of the city's Planning Commission on Monday, November 23rd, and the city's commissioners on Wednesday, December 2nd, with a limited allowable topic window of transportation, public service, and public service. We repeat, we are not against development. We are only against poorly planned development that will clearly put all of us traveling, working, and living in and around Beaver Creek Road and 213 area into a bottleneck of transportation with no clear path for functional and environmental responsibility. As to quote one of my favorite county councilors, it is not against the law to have poorly planned development. Please don't allow poorly planned development force Clackamas County under duress by safety providers, businesses, and residents to spend money we don't have to build roads for Oregon City's growth.
You know,
And thank you for your time.
a few more. There's nobody behind you. I'm curious, where did you hear that there would be bolting down of manhole covers?
It was testified at the, I'm thinking now, Evergreen was the 9 acres, and there were hearings at the county commissioner. And I attended with Christine Kozinski, our speaker, and that was the solution shared. I don't think it was Tony Conklin. I can't remember actually who it was, but it was testified at the city council or commissioner meeting.
And then the other part is, we all know that Wes has some lines up there. So I'm curious on which lines we're talking about. Are these Oregon City's transmission lines for sewer, or are they the county lines?
It was the one that goes down, what's the
But
road?
it's one that goes down
Oak? No,
Glen Oak
Glen Oak.
to 213, and then from what I understand, I'll try and show you on this map.
Sure.
Pretty creative, huh?
This is a nice map.
This would be Glen Oak is down here, and it goes. There's a connection here at 213 Glen Oak. I don't believe there's any sewer lines servicing anything south of
No.
Glen Oak.
Okay.
So
It's not.
all of this is servicing this area in here.
Okay.
All of the properties south of Glen Oak are on septic systems.
Now, my last question has to do with level of service. Having come from Wilsonville, we all knew what LOS, level of service, was. And D is considered failing, and F is failure. And we just discussed this actually with staff the other day. And they have tossed aside LOSs, unfortunately, because, of course, there were so many failures everywhere, we couldn't handle it. So we'll just create a new measuring stick, right?
Yeah.
So my concern is, based on that 1992 document, that if it reaches level of D, what is that interpreted to in our new language? Is it?
That's a good question, John, and I don't really know, because you're right. They have said we're going to allow things to fail before we fix them,
Right.
because we don't have the funds to do anything with them.
What it comes down to?
Yeah, and so I don't know. That intersection was improved right before the previous mayor. I can't remember her name. Alice Norris. Alice became the mayor right at the beginning of the construction of improving that intersection to where it is now. But Metro and ODOT already knew that within 5 to 6 years it was going to fail, even with those improvements. So we're at this situation. And my only concern is, my main concern are the sewers. We got to do something about that before they go further. I mean, it's just crazy not to. I don't know where we're going to get the funds, but we're going to have to come up with something. But the other thing are the enterprise zones. And enterprise zones, if you're at all familiar with them, can be wonderful things, like they are out in near Bend at Redmond. At Redmond, they have had a enterprise zone that's been very successful. Madras, just up the street from them, has been an absolute failure. But the state of California and Florida have made enterprise zones illegal, for various reasons, mainly because of tax problems, as you.
I don't know.
And from what I understand with Oregon City's enterprise zones that they're creating, the first 2 years, there's no local taxes, which means there's no SDCs. So
And then the
And then the
next
next
3 to 5.
3 to 5 years,
Right.
there's no
Property.
property taxes. So you're looking at a 5 to 7 year period where you're not going to get funds to make improvements. So I don't know where those funds are going to come from.
Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. Your presentation is very interesting, and I don't disagree with a lot of it. Thank you. And you hit on some points that this board has been talking about, being educated on, about how we handle our future growth. Now, I live clear on the other end of Beaver Creek Road, and yeah, and I
That's
can.
why we mentioned you, because I knew you did.
Yeah, so coming to work, I can either come Highway 213 or Beaver Creek. It's the equal amount of distance, and I trade off, just to see what's going on. And you're very right about the traffic problems. I think you're right about where septic tanks come in, because I believe all Henrici Road is septic tanks, and that is heavily populated. Yeah, and so traffic is a concern. I don't know how Oregon City is going to think they're going to address this, because in the past, it's been a county policy that growth needs to pay for itself. And so, yes, Beaver Creek Road needs to be widened. Yes, there is a sewer problem. We're very aware of that. And right now at the county, you may know that we're in a little bit of a struggle with Oregon City. I believe Oregon City is on a moratorium for some of their building, mainly because of sewer expansion. And the county is prepared to lead on the sewer issue and go ahead and do what's necessary to make sure that we have adequate sewer supply and be a leader in future growth for 20 years. And frankly, Oregon City has challenged us on that. They don't want us to do that. We are able to do it on a countywide basis, hundreds of millions of dollars cheaper than one city can do it on their own, but yet for somehow they are fighting us on that. So we're working on some plans now. We're going to move ahead. Paul, I'm sure, wants to talk about the sewer issue, but we're prepared to lead on this, at least on the sewer.
Yeah, well, you guys are partners with them on the sewer.
Yes,
so
we are
you've got-
partners,
you've
yeah,
gotta
through
work together.
Tri-City Service District, Clackamas
Exactly.
County Service District 1, which they're connected. They're connected because so much goes into the Tri-Cities plant, overflow, there's I&I issues, there's all kinds of issues in our smaller cities, so we're working on resolving that.
Commissioner Savas.
I just wanted to just clarify something to make sure people understood. So our involvement at the county level in that area as it relates to sewer is really what, those pipes and all the conveyance, that's a city issue. And then they pipe it down to the plant, down along 205, and that's where it's treated. So our role's on the treatment side. So these bottlenecks you're talking about is on their conveyance
and
side.
we
So
do realize that. And we know that 90% of this you guys can't do anything about.
You
We
got to
wanted to
kind of
make
let,
you aware.
let Commissioner Savas finish. if you
I'm
don't
sorry, Paul.
but what I wanted to really say or finish saying was that all these issues you outlined, with the exception of water, is responsibilities of the city. And the water district, I know, has got some jurisdiction in that area. But I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. And this is an area that's been identified for some industrial growth for jobs, basically, in industry. And I think that was part of the reason that 213 project, the jug handle project, was completed for economic development. But it just, in a way, it kind of goes to show, with all the traffic on both those roads, that a lot of people are gravitating, moving out in the rural area and away from the city. And granted, some are going into the city, but the growth out there and the housing prices are awfully affordable. So, we're seeing a lot of activity out in Malala and Estacada, and a lot of housing developments going up. People don't want to live in the city, so they're going to be moving down those highways and roads that you're talking about here. So thanks for bringing this to our attention.
And we do realize that you guys don't have a lot of, you can't say yes or no to anything on this, but we wanted to make you aware of it. We wanted to get your counsel in regards to what you think we might be able to do in terms of helping Oregon City with this process.
Commissioner Schrader.
So my question is, this is an area that has consistently, they've tried to bring in, but because of voter-approved annexation, they have not.
The
been
voters
able
have,
Yeah.
you're right, have
Yeah.
turned down annexation on, I believe, 2 occasions on this.
on this.
On the, particularly in the Beaver Creek Road
Yeah.
concept plan.
But they still, a lot of that is in the city of Oregon City.
Yeah,
It's still within their
yeah,
road
it's
boundary,
it's mainly Roses,
Yes,
the
yeah.
Oregon City Golf Course. I believe it's the one that got turned down the last time. And we're not here favor or against annexation. That's not our purpose. It's just that we think they're putting the cart before the horse on this. And it's going to cause all of us issues. It's going to cause the county issues because they use this intersection a lot.
You bet.
Well, Norm and Tammy did a great job. I
Thank
see
you. We've
we're-
got-
We're into it 18 minutes, which is like a record or something, but, sure.
Thank
yeah,
you very
Mary
much.
will just
And
sort of-
I may just come for entertainment to come and see you guys do the hearing on marijuana.
Thanks a
Just for
bunch.
my own
Oh,
entertainment.
yeah, I
After
tell
going
you.
through it myself.
Entertainment, for sure.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda are public hearings. Mr. Krupp.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have 2 public hearings this morning. The first one is to consider amending Chapter 2.09 involving the authorities and responsibilities of the county administrator. I'm going to ask County Counsel Stephen Madkour to present this item to you.
Thank you, County Administrator Krupp. Stephen Madkour, County Counsel. County Counsel is charged with updating and keeping the county code, and we have a code update committee. And the Code Update Committee has proposed 2 changes for the board's consideration. The first one is the chapter concerning the county administrator, and that is Chapter 209 of the county code itself. This matter was presented to the board at its October 20th policy session, and it authorized proceeding to the first reading, which is today. If the board approves of it today, it would go to a second reading on December 3rd. We're asking that it be read by title only. The substantive changes to 2.09 are, some are housekeeping, but there are substantive changes that this board would be delegating authority to the county administrator. It would be to Don Krupp and any successors afterwards. And one of the things that it's delegating is Section 209060, Sub D, contract signing authority for those contracts previously approved by the board. We had some alternative language that the board asked to be revised during the policy session, so we struck that language. So this would allow the county administrator just to sign contracts that you've already formally approved. Subsection E, it delegates to the county administrator the ability to draft and promulgate administrative rules and establish and implement policies. And that is for the internal county operational policies, for tech services, for electronic signature writing, for county facilities, things along those lines. It's not board policy, it's operational policy. We have another section which is under F, and it goes to 10, and that is including 2 words concerning county facilities, and it reads in its entirety, directing the use, operation, maintenance, control, and custody of all county and district property, buildings, works, and improvements. We have currently a kind of uncoordinated manner of administering county facilities, and this would vest that authority in the county administrator in terms of approvals, in terms of exclusions, in terms of allowing people license to use a building, the farmer's market for that, for an example, at our parking lot on a Saturday. We currently don't have a system in place, so it clarifies that. And other than a few typographical changes, those are the more substantive changes to the code itself. Any questions?
Commissioners?
Nope.
Doesn't appear to be any. So I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if anyone wishes to testify on this matter. All right, close the public hearing and ask for the motion.
I move we read the ordinance by title only.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Schrader, seconded by Commissioner Smith to read the ordinance by title only. Any further discussion? All right, Mary?
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Chair Ludlow.
Aye, passes 4-0. I'll ask the clerk to assign a number and read the ordinance by title only.
Okay, this is going to be ordinance number 07-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 2.09, County Administrator of the Clackamas County Code.
All right. The second reading will be on December 3rd, 2015, at the regularly scheduled business meeting at 10 a.m. And so, Mr. Krupp.
Okay, the second public hearing involves an amendment to Chapter 6.03 involving our emergency management function. Again, Mr. Madkour will present this to you.
Thank you. Same history, same process. This is Chapter 603 concerning emergency regulations, and this is a little bit more of a housekeeping with less substantive changes. This came up through the Code Update Committee, has the approval of Nancy Bush, the Director of Emergency Management, and it more clearly lays out the chain of authority in the event of an emergency. That's in Section 603050. And it also incorporates a best practices approach under 6.03070, acquisition of resources. Relatively, I would say, benign changes to the section on emergency management, more of a update and housekeeping than anything else.
All right. Any questions, commissioners? All right, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone wishes to speak on this matter. There being none, close the public hearing and ask for the motion. Somebody?
I move we read the ordinance by title only.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Further discussion? All right, Mary?
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Chair Ludlow.
Aye, passes 4-0. I'll ask the clerk to assign a number and read the ordinance by title only.
Okay, this is going to be ordinance number 08-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 6.03, Emergency Regulations of the Clackamas County Code.
All right. So do the commissioners have any proposed changes or amendments to the draft ordinance at this time?
Nope.
All right, I'll announce the second reading will be also on December 3rd, 2015, at a regularly scheduled business meeting at 10 a.m. This time, Mr. Madkour, you're excused. I know you have another important engagement.
Thank you, Commissioners.
So it's time for the consent agenda. I'll ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by title.
Okay, the consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of a revenue intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon Criminal Justice Commission for the Specialty Court Grant Program. Under the Department of Transportation and Development, a board order adopting the vacation of Browndale Farm Road. Under elected officials, approval of previous business meeting minutes. Under the Business and Community Services, approval of an Oregon Department of Forestry Grant Agreement Cooperative Pilot Project Phase 1 Feasibility Study, and approval of a State Marine Board Facility Grant Cooperative Agreement Facility Grant Number 1541 Heb Park Boating Improvements. Under the Development Agency, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for right-of-way services for the Monterey Avenue Extension Project. And that concludes the consent agenda.
All right, Commissioners, any questions or removals from the consent agenda? All right, ask for a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
The motion by Commissioner Smith, and seconded by Commissioner Schrader to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All right, Mary?
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader, Chair Ludlow.
Aye, passes 4-0. And now is time for the exciting County Administrator Communication Update. Call it an update.
You know, Mr. Chair, I like to use these opportunities to talk about much of the good things that we're doing here in Clackamas County, and I am always impressed by the fact that we continue to receive positive kudos from citizens in our community about our Transportation and Development Department, particularly our road crew. So this latest communication is a note of appreciation that was sent in from a customer about the road work we performed on Prosperity Park Road near Tualatin. This was a project, of course, that was funded by your commitment, this board's commitment, to allot additional funds to the road fund to enhance and improve our road maintenance capacity. Mr. Kevin M. writes in, I want to take this moment to thank the people who were in charge of the reconstruction. We talked often with the county crew that oversaw the work being performed. They were great guys to work with and went to great lengths to make certain our road was brought up to a standard we could have only dreamed of. As a business owner myself, I know that thank yous are far and few between. On behalf of myself and every neighbor that lives on this road, we just want to say that. Thank you, and thank you for the team of county workers that maintain the highest level of integrity as well as expectations. So again, I want to thank our road crew staff for the fine work they do, and I think this board deserves a round of thanks as well, because this wouldn't have been possible to do this project without the budget funding commitment you made in the course of the current fiscal year budget. So happy to share that with you. I also stumbled across in the Clackamas Review an article. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. It's about Ann Austin, who's a public relations coordinator working with our Tourism and Community Affairs Department, Oregon's Mount Hood territory. Ann has received an accolade. She is recognized in PR News as a rising star. And so this is a national publication that serves public relations professionals, actually worldwide, and keeping folks informed about the latest in the communications industry. And so Ann's efforts in this last year alone generated media coverage that reached over $364 million. So, I mean, excuse me, 64 million people.
Wow, that's great
If
money.
we were to have purchased ads that reached that many people, it would have cost nearly $5.4 million. So we're really getting some remarkable return on investment from our tourism folks, and happy to see this in the paper yesterday morning, and it's good to acknowledge the fine work that our tourism staff are doing. And then the other final thing I wanted to share with you, another piece of good news, is I received the annual report regarding the Clackamas County Government Channel. It's our annual report for fiscal year 2014 and 15, and I haven't yet had a chance to read through it just yet, but I thought it was worth noting that our Government Channel program has been honored with 259 awards to date for programming excellence. So again, thanks to our fine program staff for the work they do there, and our Public and Governmental Affairs team for the work they do. That's my report.
Wow.
All right, thank you. Time for Commissioner's communication. I'll start with Commissioner Savas.
Well, I just want to build on a little bit. I wasn't going to plan on talking about roads, but it's at the forefront today. But I do want to just acknowledge, I heard this morning, I believe it was Troutdale on the November election passed a gas tax. If it was not Troutdale, it was a city nearby, but I believe it was Troutdale.
I think you're right.
So that just kind of goes to show, and I do agree with that. I think we can't ask for it all, but doing something would be better than doing nothing. But it comes to asking the voters for a gas tax, the question about funding roads. So, and I also want to thank my colleagues for approving that funding, some general fund dollars through an offset to fund some of those road needs. What I really want to talk about, another financial matter, I believe it's financial, it's got financial implications, is the marijuana discussion that we are having, and we will have for the first time the first Board of County Commissioner hearing on November 23rd, which is not this coming Monday, but the Monday following. And I sat in the room at the Planning Commission hearing. A lot of citizens out there got postcards in the mail regarding this, and a lot of them showed up. 400-plus people showed up at that meeting, and they spoke to the Planning Commission. About 100 or so of them spoke. But I think it's more important, or as important at least, that you express those people who spoke or those people interested in this subject come and speak to us, the Board of County Commissioners, because that's where the decision, that's where the buck stops. The buck stops with us. So I'm encouraging people, because I thought some of that testimony, whether you're pro or con, I learned a lot from it. And, you know, Commissioner Ludlow was there, I was there, but my other three colleagues were not. But I thought it was some very powerful and emotional testimony. But to me, what I walked away with was, my gosh, how much is this going to cost the county taxpayers? And really, frankly, we're going to get 3%, I believe, is the proposal. The state will get 17%. My concern, especially after reading the regulations from the OLCC and our regulations, this could actually cost us far more money than we will ever see. And I spoke to the administrator this morning. I discussed this with the board on Tuesday. What's the financial analysis? Can we have a financial analysis, estimates obviously, so that we can talk about that on November 23rd or the subsequent hearing in early December, because I'm really concerned about the financial implications and cost of this. Will this actually cost us more than we'll receive in revenue? And I think that's, you know, I've always had a financial focus coming into the commission when I was first elected. And I think this is something that is very, very fundamental, very concerning for me from a public safety standpoint, the sheriff, code enforcement, quality of life issues. And with the changes that have been proposed, I think that's key too. The changes or the direction that we advised the Planning Commission on, and then the subsequent changes they made after they heard the testimony, are kind of alarming and concerning in the sense that the need and the sheriff's coverage potentially is far broader than we originally anticipated by including or recommending medical marijuana, or excuse me, retail marijuana outlets in the rural areas, which is something that in our time, place, and manner ordinances that we adopted earlier, we didn't do that because we didn't have the sheriff's coverage to do that, and that's part of the recommendation from the Planning Commission. So substantial changes have occurred since we last talked about this. We had a public discussion here a couple months ago, a month and a half ago, and since then, 78 pages of state regulations, which are just going to be tenuous to enforce, expensive to enforce. They're good regulations, but I, for one, didn't want to tax it, I didn't want to regulate it, and I certainly don't want to litigate it. With that, the other thing I have is Charlie. Talk about Charlie.
Charlie.
And Charlie's going to come up on the screen here, but this is Charlie. He is a sweet, quiet guy. He likes to walk right by your side, and he is very polite, off and on a leash. He is a handsome brown and white male American Staffordshire Terrier mix. You can have lots of love to give, and he would like to come and live with you. If you are looking for a bright and loving big boy, he is your guy. So consider Charlie. For more information about Charlie and other adoptable dogs, please contact Clackamas County Dog Services at 503-655-8628 or at the website listed on the screen.
Looks like he needs a tummy rub. There you go, Charlie.
And now, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, yesterday was Veterans Day, and I had a marvelous time. I spent most of the day on the road visiting veterans and talking with people. I started out in Estacada. They had a breakfast sponsored by the Estacada Chamber of Commerce in conjunction with the American Legion and Auxiliary Post 74. I freshly cooked pancakes, sausage and egg breakfast. It was very well attended. It was just fun for me to be talking to the people out there. Then we moved to an event that's, I think, new in Oregon. Progressive Insurance and Enterprise Rent-A-Car have teamed up to provide 2 cars for veterans in Oregon. And this is a program that's across the country, in every state. They provide veterans with a car, a very needed veteran. In this case, we had a man, Vietnam veteran, who takes care of his wife who has MS, and he has a brother with debilitating illness, and he is their only source of transportation and care that they get. The other one was a woman who joined the Army at 38 to get her education. She came home, went into the trades as a carpenter, and now does cement work around the county. And it's really amazing to see her and her family there too. I ended the day at VFW Post 1324 in Oregon City. They had an open house, and that's right down the hill from us. They overlook the falls. What a nice group of people. I thoroughly enjoyed all the historical artifacts and weapons and uniforms and designations and documents and photos that they acquired there at the museum. They were a recipient of some of our small grants in the past year, and what they're doing is updating their facility. The veterans down there told me that their fathers built that facility, turned it over to them, and now they want to turn it over to the younger veterans, but they want it to be in good shape. And one of the things that they were doing is creating a more family-friendly type of atmosphere. They took out the big bar. They're putting in more of a family-centric with a playroom for children that can come, families can come for dinner, and they've added a couple of bathrooms, ADA bathroom, and going to remodel their kitchen. With the money we gave them, I don't think it was more than $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. They were able to take that, leverage it into over $20,000 of labor and products and services. Home Depot was a big supplier. Anderson Windows donated a couple of windows. So they really know how to take a buck and stretch it. And that's one program I'm thankful that we're able to do through our small grants program. And that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader.
Okay, well, I have props with me because Commissioner Smith ended the day at the Post 1324. I started the day at the Post 1324. And one of the things they had there was buttons commemorating the 50th anniversary of the war in Vietnam. And one of the things I noticed, let me hold this up, I have some handouts here, and then, of course, I have my poppy that I wore for the whole day. But Commissioner Smith is correct; they are wonderful people. Commissioner Savas was with me at the time too, and we had some great lasagna with them.
Nice?
Yeah, it was really nice people, and they had memorabilia from all the different wars displayed. But the thing I found the most moving that I couldn't keep my eyes off of is they had a screen going on with footage from Vietnam. And that was the first war that was really directly brought into our living rooms. And there was a time it was very moving, I couldn't keep my eyes off of it because these were kids. You know, you saw these young men, and the women were there too, but they were there doing MASH units and a lot of nursing and, weren't on the lines, but it was, I just looked and I thought, were we that young once? And were we sending such young people into peril? And they just looked, it was a time warp, and it reminded me that one of the reasons I think things have changed this go around with the chronic conflicts that we have been dealing with, Iraq, Afghanistan, Desert Storm, is that we are treating people differently from when they came home, because both at this meeting and when we visited Malala Middle School, we're with past Mayor Mike Clark of Malala and spoke at that event. The veterans were saying, well, when we came home from Vietnam, we were told to keep quiet, not say a word, not let people know what we did or where we came from, because we would get vilified and spit on. And a veteran approached Commissioner Savas and I after the Malala piece and told us that was one of the first time he'd ever come out. Wasn't that true? In so many years, because he couldn't face the fact that he was treated. It was a shameful treatment, as opposed to realizing that people were called to do what they needed to do. And then after that one, I spent the afternoon in Lake Oswego, where the Lake Oswego City Council had a whole veterans event as well, and we had a moving speech from one of the dads from Beaverton about his family, and his son had been killed at the age of 22. He had gone into the Army at 20, and what that grief was like for the family. And that was really, again, really compelling and really moving. And I have the information with those folks, and the dad goes around and speaks what it was like to cope with that as a family. So yesterday was quite a moving day. And I ended the evening with the Pacific Northwest Defense Coalition, because they decided to have their big event on Veterans Day, and that's where they actually celebrated their 10th anniversary. And they got started because of the work that I will give Shelley Perini did years ago, Barry Hendricks from OECO Corporation, Les Diasis from Benchmade Knives, who came together after we felt that there was a cluster there, that we had a lot of folks that were making equipment and things for our warriors, that we had a cluster here. So it was 10 years since this organization, and it's growing strong. It has over 200 members. It brings all the major corporations and businesses together in a bi-state way to market their goods, to work with the Department of Defense, to work with our military on developing things that protect our soldiers in the field. And so I got this really nice, paperweight, I guess that's what you call it, for being one of the founders 10 years ago. And that was a really nice event. We had a lot of folks from the military in attendance. So overall, Veterans Day was a busy day. And I found something else out that I hope he doesn't mind I share. But I didn't realize this, but our Oregon Department of Veteran Affairs Director, Cameron Smith, who was a Marine, and the Marines were 240 years old this week, too. His great-grandfather was Admiral Nimitz. And Admiral Nimitz was one of the guys who was seminal in the Pacific Theater during the Second World War. And he also was the person who really moved ahead with the submarine, frameworks that we now deal with today. And I hope Cameron doesn't get mad at me for mentioning this, but he never talks about it. And then somebody goes, well, his grandfather's admiral. And I said, what? So next time I talk to him directly, I called him and wished him a happy Veterans Day, and he responded. He's a really great young guy, and he's a breath of fresh air in this state for the ODVA. He's doing more because he's young and he's interested, and he knows what it was like to be in combat. He was one of the people that went house to house in Fallujah with a ground battle that was pretty messy, pretty dire, put people in peril. And the last shout I'm going to give in terms of veterans, I pulled it up, is from Clackamas Community College, because the Military Times has named Clackamas Community College as one of the best in the nation for veterans in its Best for Vets Colleges 2016 rankings. Wow. And we should be very proud of that because they are now fundraising. We'll see it in February. They're going to have a big event for the Military Family Endowment Fund, which gives scholarships not only to veterans but members of their families as well. So, and we're still working on that covenant, colleagues, and we will all be there. And today I'll be talking with Mayor Lori DeReamer to get her signature, to get her approval of it. So we'll have all our mayors involved. Our signatures will be on it, and we will recommit what we do, every resources we have for veterans in this county with all of our colleagues and interested people across the county. Okay, arts and culture activities, and I'll be done. All righty. There we go. Okay, Canby Library Music in the Stack. Singer-songwriter Steve Hale enjoyed blue-eyed soul American pop in the tradition of Daryl Hall, Sam Cooke, Bill Withers, and James Taylor, Saturday, November 14th at 2:30 in the Canby Library. Meet the authors at Lake Oswego Library. Open house for authors and illustrators from the community. Meet them, hear about their work, and find a special Christmas gift for someone. Saturday, November 15th, 1 to 4 at the Lake Oswego Library. And for more information, go to the Arts Alliance website, clackamasartsalliance.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, some of us attended last week the Metropolitan Home Builders 2016 housing forecast. And as the preamble to the Code of Ethics for the Realtors Association is, under all is the land. So when you don't have the land and there's a tremendous demand, the price continues to go up. Such it was the projection here during that one. The Gladstone had a Veterans Day breakfast and parade, which some of us participated in. That was a great one, going back to a lot of veterans things happening this week. Also attended the Clackamas Community College 50th anniversary gala up at the Oregon Golf Club. That was really great stuff for my alma mater at Clackamas Community College, but it was great to see some of the people I've known for many years up there. I also went to that car award. That was really something well put on by Progressive and participated in by Enterprise Rent-A-Car and so many others, really, to make that event special. And in addition to that, I also went to the Veterans of Foreign War Three Rivers open house, but I couldn't find anybody to show me around. I think they'd left for a short time, but I'll probably have to go back to see the improvements that they did with the money we allocated to them. The AOC conference is next week, and I'll say a little bit more about that here in a bit. But this last week, we did set state legislative agenda. One of the things that we intend to pursue is in 2005, the Court of Appeals took away Metro's ability to do what's known as sub-regional planning or sub-regional analysis. That has really hurt the region because when there's available industrial lands in Forest Grove, they'll tell us in Clackamas County, well, you don't need any. There's some in the region. But that's a long ways from the people who live in Clackamas County. And as an example, with our friends from Boring, it'll take you at least an hour and a half to get to Forest Grove on a good day, probably. So we'll be working on that. I was happy to see that now it looks like we have some 62%, and it's growing, of the owners of frontage along McLaughlin from Gladstone to Milwaukee who have signed up for a new lighting district. And that'll give, and having grown up in Oak Grove, the uniformity of lighting has never been there. There's dark pockets, it's never really overlit, but kind of interesting lighting that certainly varies in that corridor. So now there will be, the plan will be, it'll take a little while to put it all together, but the plan will be to uniformly light that area, again, kind of a long stretch from Oregon City to Milwaukee. The Clackamas County, I want to read this because it's so important. Clackamas County Winter Warming Centers 2015. Now, others do happen to open up when it gets really cold, and it did here in the last couple of years, so we'd have to have more of them. But Clackamas County contracts with 3 warming centers to provide homeless shelter beds on nights when the weather is predicted to be 32 degrees or lower, or when other conditions such as accumulated snowfall or high winds make sleeping outdoors especially dangerous. Homeless adults are the primary population that accesses the warming centers, but families with children can also access the centers. Each site decides by 1 p.m. whether or not they will open based on the National Weather Service predictions for their local area. Site locations are Father's Heart Street Ministry on 12th Street in Oregon City, Clackamas Service Center, that's 8800 Southeast 80th Avenue in Portland, just off 82nd, and that's Clackamas County, I might add. The Molalla Warming Center at 301 Francis Street in Molalla. Homeless persons do not need to call ahead, just show up at the site that is most accessible to them. Hot drinks, food, and sleeping mats or cots are available at all centers. If community members would like to donate blankets or warm weather gear, you can contact Clackamas Service Center for donation information. That's at 503-481-8559. We will have no business meetings this next week because of our involvement with the Association of Oregon Counties. We were going down to Eugene, and we will there actually learn a heck of a lot and certainly share our information with other commissioners in like-kind situations. But it's always, I think, a great learning experience. And with that, I will close with a phrase I picked up, and it's a good one. It says, people with good intentions make promises. People with good character keep them. Ladies and gentlemen, there being no further business before the commission this day, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.